Hey everyone, it's Peter from Daydream Nation, and I've got John the Music Nut back to the channel. How are you, John?
Doing well, Peter. How about you?
No, doing well, doing well. Today we are going to do a special show on a band that we haven't previously covered, and it's the Ramones, and we are going to cover the album Halfway to Sanity, which came out in 1987. So we're going to talk about the Ramones, maybe our first impression of the band, do a bit of a deep dive on the songs, and just give our synopsis of whether we like this album or not. So I'll throw it to you, John. What was your first impression of the Ramones?
Well, I like the Ramones. I didn't really get into the Ramones till the 90s. I wasn't listening to punk in the 80s. When this came out, I was listening to a lot of different stuff, but not punk, at least not yet. By the 90s, I was
Hmm.
a lot more into it. So, yeah, but I mean, I dig their early stuff. I think it's killer. And they've made a few other good albums there in between. So, yeah, I dig the Ramones a lot.
Okay. Well, I guess the Ramones have always been a fabric of my music life. I got into them in the late 80s, where I was very much into crossover metal and punk. Those first three albums, I think I bought the Ramones self-titled probably in 86, 85,
Okay.
and I was sold on that, the whole image of the Ramones ever since collecting all the albums. I think it was a couple of years ago that Record Store Day they did a special box set of the Sire years, provided me with some of the missing pieces, some of the albums which were quite scarce. A lot of those albums like Animal Boy, etc. Very hard to get on vinyl, for that fact on CD, and getting the box set completed the puzzle. And so I'm a bit of a completist with the Ramones. But one thing out of that was I gravitated to this album, and we'll go more into it, my initial views and my end views. And this seemed to me to be a little bit of a shining light. So, all right, well, maybe we'll throw to halfway to Insanity. I'll just a little bit of admin. So this hit the UK charts at number 78, and US it hit 172. Now, John, Ramones were never a big selling band, sold a hell of a lot of t-shirts. You could probably see a lot of folk wearing t-shirts, bit of a pop culture type of band, but actual record sales, I think what you would say, they were more of a prestige band for the label than an actual big multi-million dollar selling band. They probably sold more albums after they broke up, and with the
I agree
passing
with
of all
that.
the members, because you've got to think about it, the original members, they're all gone, which is really
Yeah.
it's kind of sad. Not a big selling band, but 172 in the US charts is probably not unusual for an album, of the Ramones in the 80s, because they were never a huge selling band. I'll throw it to you, John. Maybe if you're okay, we could just go song by song and just go a bit of a deep dive. So start
Sure.
off with the first song, "I Want to Live."
Yeah, it's a good opener. It's got this 60s feel in the guitar. Reminds you a little bit of Johnny Rivers' Secret Agent Man. And then when it kicks into the song, it's pretty cool. I wouldn't say it's a great song, but it's a good opener.
Right. Well, I think it's a kind of a very bright power pop sort of song. So the chorus is very melodic. It sort of chimes along. It's got lots of energy. One thing I have to appreciate on this album, and you've got to listen to the album on vinyl or on CD, not on YouTube, is I really appreciate the production of Daniel Ray. So he's a producer. You look at his credits on Wikipedia, and they're as long as your arm. Yeah, he was a producer for such bands as the Misfits and Richard Hell. So he was definitely in that
Yeah.
wheelhouse and knew how
Yes.
to sonically get the best out of the Ramones. But yeah, look, I think it's my opinion is probably a little bit more favorable than yours, but I think this is a really bright opener to the album. But I sort of think it's more in the power pop. And John, you could probably think that there were a lot of other bands that came decades later that definitely maybe the bastard sons of the Ramones. I'm talking at you, Green Day. I'm talking at you, Offspring. Wouldn't you
Right.
say?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, those bands they took over, and they were the ones who wound up having a big selling albums and all the notoriety and the hit singles. Yeah. So
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, the next one is Bop Till You Drop.
not Rick Springfield. Uh
Yeah.
Now this is cool. This is cool as the energy of the great albums from the late 70s. And Richie Ramone, this is his last album with the Ramones. He has some cool fills in here, which you normally didn't hear with the Ramones because they usually just played it straight. So yeah, this is a cool track.
Okay. All right. Well, I put this as a simple, direct. It's got heavy, deep, punchy chords, and I love Joey's growl vocals on this. So this is I mean, there's multiple writing credits on the album, but this is
Right.
a write between DD, and Johnny. And all the songs, except for one, are very short. So they don't outstay your welcome. If you don't like one song, the next one may be what more to your fancy. So this is only goes for 2 minutes and 9 seconds, and it's kind of simple and direct. Kind of like it. All right, Garden of Serenity.
Okay, it's more heavy, more mid tempo. Again, it has that 60s feel with the guitar line in the beginning. You have those ohs during the choruses. It's a pretty cool track. It's a little slower by Ramon standards, but it's cool.
Right. Well, yeah, there's a little bit of a backing track. So as you said with the vocals, it seems this is one of the more unusual Ramones song where you've got Joey, DD, and Richie maybe adding a little bit of tracking, which adds a little bit of
Right.
sort of a gang vocal feel to it. But
Mhm.
yeah, Johnny's guitar work, as always, he's one of the. I mean, if you had to do, Rolling Stone, John did a hundred greatest guitarists of all time. And I always find those polls a bit of a laugh and a bit arbitrary. It's always the taste police. But I mean, if you're going to throw a couple of punk guitarists in, Johnny Bramone, I don't know if he's in the list or not, but should be. That's sort of that buzzsaw guitar, very influential.
He's a fantastic rhythm guitar player, no doubt about it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. All right. Weasel Face. What have you got to say about this one?
This one I dig a lot. This could have fit in easy on the self-titled one or Road to Ruin or Rocket to Russia. This one kicks. Just simple kick-ass rock and roll. Joey's on this album, Joey sounds a lot more menacing than he did on the early albums. I thought, even the mid 80s albums. I mean, his vocals here, I mean, they're like really mean and cutting. I I dig this song. This might be my favorite song on the album.
Yeah, I think it's the Pogo song, John. This is the song where I just want to get out of the chair and just jump up and down. And
Yeah,
you can tell the songs where they sing one, two, three, four. That's the what. That's the cue that you get out of the chair and start pogoing around
exactly.
the. So did you
Yeah,
pogo around the kitchen to this song, John?
I did.
That's good to hear. Good to hear. No, it's an explosive punk rocker, and it's like the 1977 is kicking alive in 1987. So I love it, and yeah, I love the vocal delivery. So as you can see, as we're talking, folks, this album has got a lot for everybody. There's a whole different lot of styles, isn't it? Wouldn't you say, John? So you've got a
Yeah,
bit of
it
garage
is.
rock, got a bit of power pop, and then you've got a little bit of hardcore punk.
That's true. I agree with that.
Yeah. All right. Go little Camaro go with a special guest.
Yeah, Debbie Harry, but to me, it wouldn't. You can't even tell it's Debbie Harry to me. I mean, anyone could have. You could have got any talented singer on here, and you really couldn't tell the difference. I think they just used her name just because she's a name in punk music. I mean, Blondie wasn't punk, but they had punk elements to them. The song's okay. I think it needs more energy to it. I think for it to be better. I'm not a big fan of this, and I know that they wanted this to be the single, and I don't know. This one just doesn't work for me.
Well, I think we're a little bit contrarian today because I don't mind it at all. And that's why I get you on the show. So
Mm.
I like it. It's a little bit garagey. I mean, when you got lyrics that says girls, cars, sun, fun, good times for everyone, it's not going to be, it's a bit bubblegum. And in that sense of bubblegum garage, I'm fine with it. Uh, do you think it's a little bit of stunt casting, putting Deborah Harry a little, let's prop the sails up a little bit, maybe? The
For
vocals,
the people who like punk,
yeah.
because punk was dead at this point in the States.
Ooh, could be another episode. Not sure about that one.
It was dead in the late 80s in the States. Nobody was listening to punk. They were going back to their old albums.
Yeah, I think there was still a pretty healthy scene in certain parts, more provincial in the California. But yeah, maybe we can
California,
cover that on
yeah,
a
that I could see. I agree with that.
yeah, yeah,
I could see that, but they weren't listening to them on the East Coast. I mean, you when Ramones album was coming out at this time, you barely heard about it.
yeah. Well, CBGB's was on its. I think it was still in New York. It's probably on its
Right.
last legs, and there was a lot of things happening.
Hmm.
But in California, and I'm sure we'll get comments. I still think it was pretty healthy. I mean, like punk crossover. That was very healthy, like suicidal tendencies and bands like that, social distortion, DRI, Descendants. So yeah, I
They were
think
very they were very underground though. I mean, those bands are probably more popular now. DRI had a bit more of a following, I'd say, but some of those
mm,
others bands, I mean, like Social Distortion, they're playing a tour this year and they're selling out all the theaters they're playing.
mm,
But like back then, they had a cult following, but I think a lot of those bands, I think they got bigger as time went on, and people went back and discovered them. I discovered them in the '90s after my brother introduced me to them because he was more into punk.
yeah,
So
yeah. Well, I can tell you in Australia it was very alive, and my observation, as I said, you're in America, you know what, on the East Coast, and I appreciate that. But what I've read, definitely on the other coast, there was definitely a very healthy scene. But I'm sure some viewers will comment and just go, "Pull your head in." Anyway, that's all. That's all
yeah,
good.
yeah,
Anyway, so we disagree on this song. I think it's lightweight, it's a throwaway, but I don't mind it. But yeah, maybe a little bit of stunt casting, you know. And
yeah,
it's like these albums that get special guest star. Let's get Kate from B-52s. Remember Iggy
yeah,
did the
exactly.
same thing with Brick by Brick? So
Hmm.
you had a lot
Right,
of albums at this era where you'd get stunt vocals, stunt guest vocals, and they'd put the label on the album, wouldn't they? Featuring,
right,
so to
exactly.
give it a little bit of a bit of a hit. I know better now. Richie Ramone. So Richie Ramone has a few songwriting credits, and I've actually seen him live as
He's
solo,
still
and
out
he's
there.
really good, really solid. What do you think about this one?
This is pretty good. I dig this. This is really heavy for the Ramones too. Yeah, very sinister song here. Yeah, this kicks butt. I dig this one.
Yeah. So I love the phrasing where he goes, "Nobody can tell me
Right.
I know better now." So, and it's got
Yeah.
that real shouty vocals. Folks, watch it on YouTube because Ramone has done his own version of this song, and it may be arguably even better than the version on this album. So, yeah, I like the lyrics. It's just a reflection of looking back on life's lessons and, how you things that you did as a teenager were, kind of acting kind of stupidly and you look back at life maybe 20, 30 years later and said, yeah, I know better now. So
It's true.
I always find the lyrics of the Ramones, they appear dumb, but they're actually smart. I think it's like a Trojan horse type of band.
Yeah. I agree with that. Yeah.
All right, so we flick the album over and we go to The Death of Me. So, Joey Ramone, what's your take on this song?
All right. From this point, I don't think this album's very good at all. I don't like the riff. The chorus is a little better. The verses don't do anything for me. It probably could have used a faster tempo. Yeah, I'm not really into this song at all.
Yeah, okay. Well, I don't mind this song at all. I think it's got edgy guitar. It's a real solid rocker to start with, and it's got a nice underlying riff. So there you go. Whatever you said, I've just completely said the opposite too.
Yeah, all good.
All right. But again, this is a another one where there's a lot of reflection lyrics. You know, he's reflecting on his past behavior. Perhaps the death of me, perhaps the lyrics are more about the Ramones. There was interesting band dynamics where a lot of the Joey and Johnny probably despised each other and didn't like each other, and very hard to imagine that you can be in a band or a relationship for 20 years where you don't talk to that person. It's just, imagine going into a band situation, laying down tracks, not a word is spoken. I don't know. I don't know how they did
I
it.
understand. Before I understand, they work with the producer because he was the only one who can actually work with both Johnny and Joey at the same time.
Yeah. So could you imagine that so I'm imagine you're Joey and I'm Johnny. So you go to the producer and say, "Tell Johnny, this is
Right.
what I want to say," and the producer
Mhm.
just walks to him and say, "Johnny just said that," and
Yeah,
they pass the
exactly.
message. Ridiculous.
Yeah.
All right, I lost my mind.
It should have been an instrumental because Dee Dee's vocals ruined this completely.
Yeah, why?
It'd be a rockin' ass song, and then Dee Dee comes in, you're like, ugh. No, I can't get into it.
Yeah. Is it the
Thank
faux
God he only
English?
sang one on this one.
Is it the faux English accent or?
No, I mean no, it's some songs like the songs he sings on Too High to Die, I think are cool. But I
Hmm.
don't know, like his vocals and then later on Joey's vocals on this album, they just get rough. And Dee Dee, I don't know what he was doing when during this recording session. He doesn't sound good.
Again, I don't mind it. I think it's a little bit of a piss take on the UK punk scene. He's got that sort of, I don't know. He's got this sort of English, this faux English accent. Maybe he's having a pot shot at the John Lyndon, because there's always been a little bit of a
It's true.
warfare between camps.
Hmm.
So maybe it's throwing a grenade at them. I don't know, but I don't mind it. It's again, when you hear a Ramones song and they do one, two, three, four, it's another Pogo song. So maybe different vocals, you would have warmed up to this song a lot more, hey?
No question.
Yeah.
Vocals are a killer for me.
All right. Okay, we're doing well so far, John the Music
Yeah.
Nut. I'll take a deep breath. I can't wait for your score at the end of this album. Anyway, we'll keep going. All right, hang in there, folks, and I'll send the email address to John the Music Nut. Okay, so just he'll set up a new Gmail account especially for this show. So
Yeah.
lucky it's not live. Woo. Anyway, um, I guess a real cool time. What do you think of this one?
I didn't have a real cool time listening to this. I saw that this was the single, and they're trying to do the 60s pop songs that they used to do so well. But this one, I don't know. It needs more life to it. I mean, I just don't like the performance of it. It's just too phoned in. I mean, when I listen to this album, I mean, they don't want the airwaves anymore. They're just phoning it in on a lot of these songs.
Right. Well, as I said, people can hear it. I think this is one of their most energetic albums because I find that a lot of the 80s material in the Ramones was a bit hit and miss. Their 70s stuff you can't touch. I think right from the
Right.
first album up, even to the end of the century with the Phil Spector embellishments, I love the Ramones. I think that's their golden period. But in the 80s, it started to get a little bit more patchy. But to me, I'm starting to hear a little bit more fire in the belly and a bit more energy, and they're trying different things. And I don't know. It's maybe it's my Australian ears. I better clear them out a little bit. I don't know. Maybe it's just different at the moment. So I like this song.
Okay,
I
we
like
all
this
listen
song,
to
John.
we all hear these songs differently,
Yeah, yeah, and that's why it makes a good contrast. I think it's Joey's best vocals. It's warm, engaging. He loves that 50 and 60s style. He loves the Shangri-Las. I think he's like an early 60s pop singer, trapped in a 6'1" body with a leather jacket and glasses. I think
Yeah.
he I don't know. He loves that sort of style of music, and he minds that sort of universe again in a song, which will come up very shortly. But I don't mind this at all. I think it's well crafted and kind of catchy. All right. Well, Richie Ramone wrote a song called "I'm Not Jesus." Can't wait for your take on this one. What do you think?
It's noise. I'm not really into it. And Joey, like I said, he sounds rough on this. I do like some of the lyrics on it, but I'm not into this. I I try and try to get into this song, and it just doesn't grab me at all.
Right. This one sounds a little bit heavy metal, and it's kind of sludgy. So you've got Richie Ramone. He's a really good drummer. So I think he's probably
Absolutely.
one of the best drummers that they've had in their lineup. Very metronomic. So he's kind of world class. Drives it along. I find this is a fun slam dance pogo song. So I think they should have a little label next to a little sort of symbol next to the songs on the album, and maybe just put a little pogo
Pogo stick.
label.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can just get out of the chair and pogo up and down. But obviously, you were sitting in your office chair, and on this one a little bit more than the
Yeah.
others. Yeah. All right. Bye Bye Baby. So this is the longest song on the album. So the average song duration on this album is 2 minutes. This one goes for four. So what do you think of this one?
It feels like 10. God,
Right.
this is bad. I mean, when they do these kind of songs, when they're at their best, they're great. This is like you said, this is what Joey really loves to do. And a lot of his songs from before this album that he did like this were great. This sounds tired and sluggish to me. I don't know. I try not I'm trying not to fall asleep to this song. I mean, it's just not there for me. And it feels so long. I mean, it's 4:33, but you're like you just keep looking to see if it's over yet. Nah, not into it.
Yeah, well, I kind of agree with you in part. I don't think this is the
Okay.
strongest song on the album, and it's not one of his better sort of version of songs. It harks back to that era of the Shangri-Las and the late 50s and the 60s, that
Mhm.
style of rock and roll. It is a little bit sluggish in the arrangement, and vocally he doesn't sound as engaged. So
No.
yeah, so definitely this is one of the weaker tracks on the album. So all right. And then we finish up with a strange little odd number to wrap up the album, which is called Worm Man, D.D. Ramone. Um, what do you think of this song?
Okay, this is my favorite song since I know better now. I like this album closer here. This I dig. This reminds me more of the older stuff, and I know I keep saying that older over and over again, but that sweet spot is 77 to 79 for me, or 76 to 79. Yeah, this I think is a good closer. After a lot of songs I don't think really register. Yeah, it's a cool closer. Like it's funny. My favorite two songs on here begin with a W: Weasel Face and Worm Man. So there you go.
Well, there you go. Isn't that funny? I love the surf drums of Richie Ramone,
Yep.
and then Joey's vocals growling on this kind of this cyclic rock rip. So, to my way of thinking, the album starts off with a great opener and a cracking closer. So
Mhm.
there you have it. All right. So Before I go into your final opinion of the album, which I kind of have a semblance of what I think your opinion of this album, let's briefly talk about Ramones in the 80s. Based on your knowledge, are there any other albums that you would recommend, or do you think, just for the viewers, that they should really stick to the 70s if you want to, get the classic Ramones?
Start with the 70s definitely, but I thought Too High to Die was very good.
Mhm.
I I liked Summer Subterranean Jungle, Pleasant Dreams. I think those albums are all really good. I'm not saying they touch but they're not nines and tens, but they're all good, like sevens and eights easy.
Mm. Yep. All right. So, what's your final opinion on this album in summary?
I give it a four. I'm not. This album doesn't do a lot for me. There's a few songs that I like. There's a few songs that are average, and a lot of it's just for a 30-minute album. You shouldn't have this many songs that are mediocre. I
Yeah.
mean, I know this was the last album they made. It was under 30 minutes. Oh, nah, not a fan. But I
Yeah.
do like a few songs.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to give it an eight because I think it's a
Okay.
return to form. I think, as I said, the early 80s, there was some little bit of, I think there was a drop off in quality. Little bit disappointing, like Subterranean Jungle. I thought that was an album that kind of plodded along and was a little bit average, but I thought this one kind of sparkles. I give this a strong 8 out of 10 and recommend. And look, the Sire box set is definitely worth investigating. I think the Ramones are one of the great punk bands or rock bands of all time, and I
Question.
think no doubt, very hard to touch those first couple of albums there because they're like the holy scrolls of punk, and deservedly so. All
Mhm.
right. Thank you very much, John the Music Nut. Always love to have your opinions, even though I may not agree. But please like and subscribe to Rock Daydream Nation. Click the bell. Put your comments. Tell us what you think of this album, whether you agree with our comments, what you think of the Ramones. What do you think of the Ramones? Maybe what do you think of the Ramones' most underrated album? We always like to read your comments, but one thing's for sure, you'll see me and John doing some more shows in 2024, arguing the toss about some other album. See you later. Cheers.